At the AI Readiness Project, we believe that in this remarkable age, AI isn't the main character. You are. While the tech is racing ahead, it's the humans who learn to harness AI mindfully that will win. Each week, we meet remarkable people doing just that. Join Kyle Shannon, tech leader and AI instigator, and 𝗏𝗏, fundraiser and AI consultant, as they lead the conversation about staying grounded, growing smarter, and leading with what makes us human.
All right. We've got to be grounded. We've got to lead with what's human. I realized I'm very geometric today. I've got geometric background, grids.
Yes. Yeah.
You know? How you doing, Murphy?
I'm good.
That sounded like there's a qualifier there. Go on.
No, I was going to say, so I want to share what I've been up to today. Whether the nice people are interested or not, but I'm going to share something. So I realized about myself that while of course I appreciate having kind of a front row seat to some of the exciting, neat things that we're doing with AI and that are happening in the world and the projects that people are launching. I love being on the upside of things, but I'm also appreciating having a front row seat into the impact of the biased algorithm on LinkedIn, because I went to the first meeting of the Fix the Feed group today, and they had a panel of just like algorithm experts and LinkedIn experts and gender experts, and the impact, like the potential multi-generational impact of suppressing women's visibility on a platform that historically has been used to gain visibility and career growth and gigs and all that kind of stuff. And so it ties into Festivus and what 𝗏𝗵 is talking about, because if you think about all the women in small towns who have gotten jobs that weren't available in their small town, have gotten opportunities through LinkedIn, that's just one example of the impact of, suppressing this. And to see how up close and personal the companies respond to their consumers, their customers, is going to be really interesting. Right now, they've ignored everything, the petition, everything. They've ignored it all, but eventually they're going to have to talk about it. One would think.
Yeah. Was it LinkedIn staff? Was it Microsoft staff? Like, how far up the chain has it gone?
This is I'm unclear on why Microsoft doesn't seem to be quite as much of a player in this. It seems to be mostly directed at LinkedIn.
Huh.
Who knows? I would have thought that Microsoft would have been getting dragged just as much, but doesn't seem to be the case.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Cool. Well, I'm super glad you're on it. And how are you doing otherwise? I have a funny thing. So we've got the whole purpose of today is obviously to talk about AI readiness, but we're 16 days out from AI Festivus 2025, which is crazy. I'll tell you, here's a more crazy fun fact, Anne.
Ooh, let's hear it.
We've got 16 days until, we've been planning this for 2 months, right? 2.5 months, whatever it's been. And getting speakers and talking and what are we going to do and how are we going to promote it, and the bundle, the reward bundle, the replay bundle. We've got so many things. Last year at this time, this wasn't even an idea yet. We hadn't even conceived it. I think it was like the weekend coming up. I forget who called who, but should we do something this year? And then we just kind of, so in less than 2 weeks, we conceived it and launched it last year. Yes, go on.
Oh my God, we didn't start until December 14th, which is 4 days from today.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So if you're feeling at all behind, no. This is luxurious.
There is so much more adrenaline to be called upon if we need to. How about that, Kyle?
I know, isn't it crazy?
Yeah. And it's going to be so good. I cannot wait. I'm so excited for all the attendees. They are in for an exquisite treat. Every single session is off the chain.
Yeah, well,
So
you've been closer. So you've been curating and putting the run of show together, and you've been telling me some of the good stuff. But I'm kind of liking being on the outside because I'm going to get to be surprised about it too. But I'll tell you, here's the thing that I'm really excited about. Last year, so 2 years ago, we did GPT for Good. So it was about a tool. We're going to come together. We're going to use this tool. We're going to build stuff for nonprofits. Really powerful. People got all excited. And I think they kind of expected to do something the next year. Last year, we did Festivus, where I at least was expecting a fair amount of the sessions to be about people talking about tools. Here's how I learned this, what it does. Not a single person, 34 speakers over 24 sessions, not a single person led with technology.
no.
They all just talked about their humanness, what they were doing, what their ideas were, how they thought. I remember 𝗍𝗫 Fletcher was like, I like to sit down, and the first thing I like to do when I'm going to create some images is close my eyes and breathe.
Yeah. We were like, what? What is that?
Yeah. And then 2025, like, we've witnessed the tools go from, mostly janky to mostly not janky. The tools are getting better and better and better and better. And where my head has gone is that as the tools get better and better and better, the specific tools matter less and less because they're all good. Like, they're all some version of good. And then what the only real job that's going to be left for us as people is to, like, be people, like, have an idea, understand what your values are. Like you were just talking about the LinkedIn thing, like, understand the change you want to make in the world, and play enough with these AI tools to know that there's some new things possible that can help you pull that off. And so I'm so excited this year to hear where people are on that journey, right? And some of the people that we've got speaking were attendees last year who'd never done anything in AI, and now they're speaking this year. I know we've got at least one of those. That's so exciting. I mean, I'm super thrilled.
Well, okay. So in addition to the fact that the tools are good enough that in some ways it's like you can be pretty like la about the tools. You're going to end up finding something that's going to work for your use case approximately well enough. But like, independent of that, you and I have both gone through another chapter of our relationship with AI because we've both gone into just a much more, like, the human piece of it for ourselves and for people writ large has become so like front and center. I could not be happier with the culmination of that at the end of this year with all of these human-centered people at AI Festivus. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You and I this year have consistently, like, we'll connect, and I'd be like, oh, I have this idea, and I would tell you something. You're like, oh, we just launched that in 𝗍𝗫, and then you would tell me something. I'm like, oh, we just did that in Salon. Like, I feel like we've been on very parallel paths.
Yeah.
But it really is that transition from, how do we learn AI to, what are we trying to accomplish, right?
Yes.
And, in the AI Salon, that's manifested as the AI Salon Mastermind Practice, which is this structured daily practice that we're encouraging people to really dive into, putting the human front and center. This is one of the biggest things that I'm seeing, the big dividing line. I used to think it's like, AI optimists and AI haters and things like that. And here's where I think the real thing is. You can either think of AI as something we're fighting against, or as something that you can use to amplify your humanity, amplify your ideas. And all of the people that are fighting against it, it's a losing battle because AI is just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So at some point, you're just going to realize you can't fight against this thing, right? It's just a losing proposition. And so I'm just, that's the thing I'm most excited about for Festivus, is hearing how people are putting themselves front and center, how they're sort of stepping into the spotlight and then letting AI push them forward and amplify their ideas and all that sort of stuff. So
let me give the nice people one example of the human, human-led AI sessions. It's Brandon Tidd, who is the producer of the AI Learning Lab and all other leaderly positions in the AI Salon, and is a fantastic.
Rick McCauley. He's a producer and a co-host on Rick McCauley's show.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. And just like all around good guy. He, as you know, and his kids wrote a children's book
Yep.
with AI. And then he just released his book, which I have, 10,000 Minutes.
Yep.
And then he's on a panel with a woman named Jam who created an app for moms who are too busy to raise their kids. That's how she will say it. And then another woman who created an app for like little tiny kids and their parents, and like, I want to say it might be like parent coaching or something like that. So here's an example. They're all parents. They've all turned to AI to help enhance their parenting. They're going to talk about the guardrails, the concerns that they had, all that kind of stuff. And like, this is GPT for good all over again. Right now, we're just more advanced tools, but it's everybody leading with their humanity.
Yeah, it's also like the thing about education, you know, sort of demonizing AI, like AI is just for cheaters, and you're finding parents like uncovering really interesting use cases to support their kids and their family, and it's just amazing and inspiring, and so hopefully that will inspire, you know, some administrators. So why don't we do this? So today I'm really excited. Normally what we have is we have a single guest, and today we actually have 5 people who are speaking at AI Festivus. Anne, Chris, Cindy, Liz, and Sundee. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring everybody up, and then we're just going to have a fun conversation. So there's Chris and Cindy.
And Cindy.
Liz and Anne. I don't see Sundee backstage, but hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are just 2 weeks out, a little more than 2 weeks out from AI Festivus 2025. You're all ready? You got your talks all prepared. You're ready to go, right? You're rocking, you're rolling. Cindy, do it.
Weeks ago, everything is completely entirely in the bag, and I'm just waiting the date. Done.
That's awesome. Awesome.
You know why? Because last year you only gave us like, I don't know,
an hour,
9 days to kind of get our heads around it. So I like that kind of pressure.
I know.
Myself this year.
Some of our brains do better under pressure. So why don't we do this? Why don't we go around and we'll have you each introduce yourself and just quickly what you're going to be talking about at Festivus, and then we'll just sort of open up the conversation and just have a nice conversation, if that works. Does that sound like a plan? Cindy, sure. since you you're
the star.
Why don't you go first?
All right, I already forgot what you said I was supposed to do, but I'm going to
introduce yourself. Yeah, exactly.
So hi everyone, I'm Cindy Kuhn. I am an applied futurist, and that means I act like a time traveler, and I spend a lot of time in the future thinking about what's going on there. And then I report back into today. So I'm really excited to be here. This will be year 2 for me at Festivus, and I just think it's the coolest thing in the world, and I can't wait for people to find out everything we're all going to chat about. So that's me.
I know. Very exciting. Beautiful, beautiful. Liz. Hello. Hi, Liz.
Thanks for having me. I'm 𝗍𝗵cie𝘄 and I am a longtime advertising producer, and 3 years ago went on my own and have spent the last 3 years immersing very deeply in AI, everything from filmmaking workflows and image creation workflows to vibe coding and prototyping, lightweight tools, and bringing those into the workflows, and really creating an AI practice, and then creating a practice around my use of AI, which is something that you and I, Kyle, share. We something that we have brought to the AI salon, and so I'm going to be talking about those sorts of things at Festivus, and I'm really excited.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's so exciting. So exciting to have you here. I can tell you that we're 3.5 weeks into launching the AI Mastermind practice. Actually, it's 4 because we had Thanksgiving in there, so we're 4 weeks
Yeah.
in. It has already changed my life, so I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited to have you here and have you speak. Chris, why don't we have you give us a little intro of who you are?
Sure. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm 𝗦𝗵cie𝘄 and gosh, I've been an artist for so many years. I grew up on Looney Tunes cartoons. Went to school for fine art, got a BA in fine arts, and been a filmmaker for 25 years, content creator for 20 years, business owner for 20 years. And AI, I got into it about 2 years ago, and been resurrecting a lot of my old scripts and stories that I wrote 18, 20, 25 years ago, and bringing them to life. And it is just a thrilling experience to see your characters that you created years ago and make them move. It's really something. So yeah, I'm here. I'm making films now, still running my business, but it's been a thrill being in this scene.
Beautiful. Welcome. We're so excited to have you. And 𝗦𝗵cie𝘄 hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm 𝗦𝗵cie𝘄. I'm an intellectual property attorney, and so I'm going to talk at Festivus about how intellectual property rules apply to your creations, and this is going to be a beginner-friendly session. We'll start just with the basics of what's the difference between a patent and a copyright and a trademark, and then we'll take a look at the current state of the law with respect to what you can protect when you're using generative AI for creations and for work and for inventions. And that's evolving. And in fact, Kyle, you asked if our presentations were done. Mine was. And then 2 weeks ago, the patent office changed their guidelines. So now I'm updating that, and you will hear the latest and greatest in my presentation in terms of the current state of the law. My luck, probably the night before Festivus, the Copyright Office will change their guidelines, and then I'll be up all night reading those. So we'll see.
Yeah. And you talked to us last year, and over this past year, there have been a fair amount of changes in copyright, ASCAP and BMI, and the music publishing groups allowing AI generated work, to some degree. I'm so excited to hear
all evolving and changing. And that's, we'll take a look at the snapshot of what it is, here at the end of 2025 during my session. Fantastic.
Well, that is just awesome. Let me move the boxes around here. There we go. So Anne, why don't you jump in and ask some questions of who we've got. If Sunday shows up here, I'll just bring her up on stage. We'll have her introduce herself. But why don't we just jump into the conversation?
For sure. So before we went live, we were having some banter about how many things have changed in the world, in AI, but in all of our individual lives as well in the last 365 days since our first Festivus. So I would love to hear from you first on what have you personally been up to in your life, in your collaborations, in your launches, awards, presentations, etc. I would love to hear from each of you what's been going on. What have you been up to? Maybe do the same order just for kicks.
You want me to jump in? All right.
I think so.
Well, I love this. And as you said, we were chatting about this. I come from a field that is research heavy. And so in the last year, this work in research and looking into the future is not as popular. And that kind of work inside of normal spaces that I've been working for the last couple decades is blown up. It's kind of gone. It's not just that I can say it's changing dramatically. There are whole sections that are gone. So when all of that first blew up a year ago, I had to just go to the woods, take some deep breaths, scream it out, and recognize where things were. And then I came back inside and I went to where I always go, which is analog creativity. So for me, I just rolled out the paper, got out the markers, and I started going, okay, what the hell? What are you going to do? So in the spirit of, Festivus and airing grievances, I really do like to say I could have spent the year pouting and being pissed off and, being frustrated that everything I had planned for 2025 literally was gone. Every single job I had for 2025 went away. And you know what? What a hell of an opportunity. I just did the pivot and just said, where do I take my skills into a collaboration with AI and just move it forward? So for me, what this year has been about is taking my unique expertise as a creative, as a futurist, as a killer question asker, and saying, all right, well, now what do you do with it? And the expansion of everything in AI, all the models and tools have allowed me to prototype in a whole new way that there's no time to pout about it. You just rebuild and you start a new practice. So for me, what I've done in 1 year, last year at Festivus, I put together the AI mindset, and that's what I presented on. So in 1 year's time, what that has turned into is a book, a full 7-week training for the US Department of Energy, and a full training with sprints, boot camps for youth in that space. That now that youth program, which is in rural northern New Mexico, just received funding last week from OpenAI to build an even bigger AI program. Wow. Because we were able to demonstrate what you can do in rural communities with youth. All of that, honest to God, came out of Festivus last year. Wow. Honestly.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Liz, how's your year been? You I feel like you have emerged from a cocoon in this past year.
Yeah. I'm reminded of this saying, order, disorder, and reorder, but it feels like that's a constant cycle, and different facets are certainly cycling through that at all times. In the AI space, there's always, it's funny, people talk about the Wild West, and I don't think that's so apt. I think it's better. I think Pangea, right? Like these tectonic plates are just shifting under our feet, and you have to be kind of with that and still continue. So it's constant skill development. It's constant creative practice development. So making films, making pieces, and then there's the building tools and experimenting, but then there's formalizing the business offerings, and that has grown a great deal in the past year. And I say that with, one thing in the past year, there has been, just in the past couple of weeks, there have been so many enormous disruptions in the advertising business. There was an enormous merger, and several very beloved companies are being retired, and that hurts a lot of people, and people are scared, and people are I don't think that there's mass blaming of AI for it, but I think that there is a feeling around it. So it's continuing forward despite that, trying to always bring what I value and values along with me. But formalizing the business offerings is something I've been working really hard on, making it for now and making it also modular so I can grow into whatever it's going to be. So it's where it is today, AI creative consulting, it's generative image and video production, it's embedded production, but then it's future growth. And then it's formalizing the business offerings of it and making sure that the tech stacks are being approved and risk acknowledged in documents to that that acknowledge that, and just making sure that there's a professional workflow that everyone understands you're moving forward with together. So that's kind of what I'm up to right now and over the past year.
I love it. There's the very early days of AI was very much like, gee shucks, we can get AI and we can make stuff with it, right? And you just the thing that you just said of, you take your tech stack and get that approved by the client, like that's just a different level of engaging with these tools, right? You have to understand them on a much more deep level, intellectual property wise and security wise and privacy wise. So it's just really good to see. And it's that evolution to me is very, very exciting because it means, our little industry is growing up, right?
That's right. That's right. And still always leaving room for playing and experimenting and building and building.
And that's where the practice comes in. So beautiful. Yeah. Thanks. Chris, how about you? What's your year been like? A year in review.
It's so fast. I mean, the technology is so new, but in the way it's moving, I mean, I've been, I started with making art with it about 2 years ago, filmmaking about a little more than a year ago. And when I look at my old films from just last year, it's already outdated looking, like the fidelity is already old and ancient looking, but it's still thrilling. I've used AI for my business that I run, the content creation that I create on YouTube for that business. And then I started another YouTube channel for just the filmmaking. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. I mean, I can jump on my YouTube and see my homepage and there's video after video after video of all the latest tools. And it can be so overwhelming when everything's thrown out at you at one time. But I think I've been able to just take a step back and use it to my advantage and be able to, bring my old stories to life is one thing that's great. I mean, I've generated such a great following even more with my business channel. I think like in the beginning of last year, I mean, I had, 75,000 subs on my business channel. And then when I changed the format a little bit and went more towards like documentary style history on if anybody knows, I restore the vintage Volkswagen Beetle, and that's my business, classic VW bugs. And so for years, I made how-to videos all on myself in my garage and showing people how to fix the car. And I struggled for 18 years to gain subscribers. I mean, 75,000 subs. Right. I changed the format using AI and making now documentary style historical videos. So I went from 75,000 subs. Now I'm at 177,000 subs in like just a year.
Amazing.
And being able to use the technology to make these documentaries, which is really cool. And then it's just really fascinating. I mean, I started a film group here in Florida. We meet now once a month and we talk AI and we show short films. And it's amazing how the group has grown in a year. And I'm meeting so interesting people that have been in the industry, the filmmaking industry for 20, 30 years, and they're a little scared. But, it's all peace of mind. I say, look, just use it to your advantage. It is a partner. Let it help you. Let it advance your skills. And I think we're all going to be good. But we do got to get on it. I was just at a film festival this past weekend, and there was still some people standoffish with the whole technology. But I kind of tell them, look, get on something with it. Because if you don't, this train is moving really fast. So, we need to hold on and enjoy the ride, so to speak. So
beautiful. And is that Herbie the love bug over your shoulder there?
Oh, over here. So, this way.
Yeah, that way.
That's actually, see, I have an RC car collection. It's one of my hobbies, and that's a
nice.
little Fiat. It's a little Fiat.
Oh, it's a Fiat. Okay. I thought it was
Yeah,
Herbie.
I got some Beetles. There's a couple Beetles over here. Yeah.
Beautiful. And 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃, well, we hinted at this earlier when you introduced yourself that the last year's been pretty intense change-wise. What's it been like for you personally?
Yeah, so from the legal space, I have two perspectives on it. One is what attorneys are doing, and one is what's happening in legal education. And I want to comment on both of those a little bit. So I'd say a year ago, many attorneys were really hesitant to bring AI into their practices because of concerns about confidentiality and security. With attorneys, obviously in the legal field, we have client confidential information, and that adds another level of complexity to using AI. But what's changed is attorneys have gone from being concerned and hesitant to now really trying to figure out how they can use it. And what's different is now I'd say all of the large AI labs have licensing tiers where you can get enterprise level licenses that don't train on your data and that have your data is encrypted in end-to-end encrypted and SOC 2 security certification. Your data is as safe with tools like OpenAI and Claude and Gemini if you're using an enterprise license as it would be if you were using Office 365 in the cloud. So that's been a big change, and that's changed how attorneys, their willingness to try to use tools. The other thing that's changed is reasoning models coming out. I mean, so much of legal analysis work is very complex reasoning, and particularly in my field, intellectual property and patent law, it's complex technical analysis. And the reasoning models, when '03 came out in the spring and when '05 came out, wow, those are just so much better at legal work than the earlier models. So those things have made a big difference, I think, in attorneys' willingness to try, and now everybody's trying to figure out how to bring it into their practices. But the area that I think is really interesting and exciting is legal education. And I didn't mention in my introduction, but I'm an adjunct law professor at University of New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce School of Law, and I teach hands-on patent practice courses. So my students, most of them are graduating within the next year. They're going out into this world, and I want them to be prepared. I want them to come into law firms and be the leaders in their law firms in terms of being aware of what AI tools can do. And so I had two kind of aha moments over the course of the last year where I was able to do things that I couldn't do in prior years. And the first one was last spring. With voice mode becoming available and voice mode becoming very, very good, it allowed me to create a custom GPT that my students could use to learn how to interact with examiners at the U.S. Patent Office. We call that interviewing the examiner. So they have always done this in my class with just a role play where one student would pretend to be the examiner and the other would pretend to be the attorney. And that's always very fake, Yeah. But I did it where I designed a custom GPT that had the persona of a patent office examiner. And because they could use voice mode, they could interact with it like a live examiner interview, like you would in practice. And I actually got recognized by OpenAI for this. OpenAI has this summer did a global faculty AI project where they featured faculty members around the world who were doing things with AI in their courses. And I was selected as one of them to be on their website and have a little feature about what I did with that project, which was super, super cool, especially because I'm an adjunct. Like, these are big schools and, full-time faculty members that are mostly featured, and I'm a little adjunct and I got featured. So that was pretty cool and pretty exciting. But voice mode was what enabled that for me that we didn't have a year ago. And then the other thing that I was able to do, I just did a couple of weeks ago, was I actually had my students do a project where they generated, patent text, patent claims with AI tools. And I've struggled for the last 2 or 3 years with when and how much I should bring AI into the class in terms of how they use it. And so at the end of my semester, towards the end of my semester, I had them take an exercise that they had done with AI, or they had done, manually, just the traditional way, earlier in the semester, and do that again using AI. And I did it that way because they had already done it. So they had already gone through the analysis and they knew what a good output looked like because they'd previously done this exercise. And then I had them just 2 weeks ago do the same exercise, but use, pick their tool. I let them pick whatever tool they wanted. Pick their tool, use, ChatGPT, use Gemini, try to do the same thing and see what you come up with. Because I wanted them to learn that you can't just expect one shot, put something in, get something out, and boom, that's perfect. And they definitely learned that, right? And I wanted them to learn the capabilities and the limitations of these tools for the work that they're going to be doing here in the very near future. And what enabled that one actually was mid-November, Google announced that they were giving Gemini 3 Pro, right after Gemini 3 Pro came out, they announced they were giving students, college students, a free 1-year subscription to Gemini 3 Pro. And so a lot of my students were using free versions of tools, and they were able to use one of the most advanced tools that was available at that time because Google made that available for free. And that allowed me to do this exercise where I had them really apply, something they'd done before in an AI context and see whether it worked or not. And so those two things as a faculty member and a teacher were pretty cool for me in terms of being able to teach. And so those are things I've never been able to do before.
And I'm curious, I assume that the custom GPT, the interaction, that it was close enough to the experience of talking to a real examiner where I assume you've done that a lot in your life. Was it similar to what you experienced? Did it hit the marks?
It did. And actually I forgot to mention the other thing that I did that was really cool was I had the GPT at the end of the interview, and these interviews, they take 10, 15 minutes maybe. At the end of that discussion, I had it switch hats and then give them feedback. And so in my GPT, and so what was also really cool about this was, I have a class with, I think I had 20 some students, and when they're doing this exercise, in previous years and they were role playing, I couldn't give live feedback to all the different groups. But what this allowed was every single student got to play the role of the attorney. None of them had to pretend to be the examiner. And they had an examiner persona that, I had developed that was, very, very realistic in terms of what it asked and how it progressed through the discussion. And then when the discussion ended, it switched hats and it said, okay, now let me give you some feedback on how you did. And so it gave live feedback on that specific student's responses and interaction with the, patent office examiner. It was amazing. It was from a teaching standpoint, something that I've never been able to do anything like that. And the experience that I was able to give them was so much more realistic. And any teacher that does any kind of exercise where you're teaching a student how to interact with another person, a negotiation, a counseling session, whatever it is, now you can create a custom GPT that will give such a realistic experience to help teach them, and also flip the role and then give them live feedback. It was so cool.
So amazing. So amazing. I want to get us back into this mode. I'd like to talk about community. Ann and I talk about this all the time, that we think that the most important thing to do right now is be in community because it's so hard to learn and keep up with this stuff. I would love to we'll just sort of popcorn around. We'll leave it in this view because I kind of like the what is this? The Hollywood Squares reference.
Here's Paul Lynn.
Yeah, exactly. But I would love to just hear from anyone who speaks to you, what are your important communities? How is community important to you? Just talk about the value of community in relationship to getting up to speed on AI and all that sort of stuff.
I'll share. You know, I'll always talk first. I can't help it. But honestly, as soon as you started to say that, Kyle, I immediately thought about, you know, where are my communities? They're here for me. AI Salon and She Leads. Those are where I spend all of my time. I'm a part of a few other communities, but I would say they're more learning and less connection.
Oh, interesting.
So it's an absolute distinction for me.
Huh.
I really want to say, I swear, I can't get it in my head without this ending up sounding sort of like, you put me in here to say this, so I didn't. But honest to God, the community that is around these two communities, it's like they're so vital to my practice. So I want to say what that actually means to me. It doesn't matter what it puts into my practice, because that's my deal. What matters is what it encourages me to push back out. And that's what I really want to put upon everyone. And this is why I feel like I'm about to sound like a commercial, but I don't care. So one of the things I have done over the last year plus is I host a space on the AI Salon called AI Prototyping, because I'm a pro prototyper. And I thought, hey, why not work with folks to prototype through whatever things we want to get after. So I've been doing that for about over a year. And I'm still doing that. There's a new one coming in January.
Yep.
That's part of the AI Salon Mastermind program. But why that's so important to me is because I am an educator. It is in my bones. I'm not ever going to get rid of it. I love teaching. So everything I do, a part of my practice that is so vital to me and important is I am weirdly hyper organized to the point of like ridiculous nerd fest. I really am. But what that allows me to do is I know where everything is and I'm able to give it right back. So every time I do a workshop, I have the recording, the deck, the PDF. And so part of what community means to me is, where am I most motivated to give all that stuff back into the community? Just generously pour it in. And so I think that's what I really witness in myself. Yes, I am being so filled up that I have enough to return. And that to me is the difference.
Love that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I feel that so much, Cindy. Like toward the end of the week, I'll be like, oh, you know, my battery's down. I'm like, there's no way I can do another thing at Social Saturday. I just can't do it. And then I go and I'm like 100% full again.
Yeah.
It just is. I never knew that this is what community was, or that it could be like this. I mean, it seems like Fantasyland, and it's just, yeah, I think it's very, very special. Thank you for saying that, Cindy.
The generosity oozes.
That's great. Who else? Thoughts on community?
Yeah, well, I will just echo that the salon and She Leads are critical spaces for people who are hoping to develop knowledge, practice, not being in a bubble of their own discipline, because these are such cross-disciplinary groups. And that's what's most exciting about them for me. As well, the communities have values that are front and center. And so you're sharing a curiosity, you're sharing values, but there are so many different kinds of knowledge that people bring, which is incredible. And Cindy, I've done your prototyping sprints, and I have found them very inspiring. I have an AI avatar character called 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and I don't know if it's a she. It came from one of your prototyping, your avatar sprint.
Yeah.
And I was saying a little bit about earlier that we have a practice lab. We call it the Mastermind Practice Lab in the AI Salon. And it is not about having a practice for using AI, but building a practice, a human-led practice around our use of AI. And that's important.
And I'll say really quick about that. My practice inside the practice, y'all, I'm watercoloring.
Yeah.
I'm not on AI. I'm doing my practice through my sketchbook watercoloring to get there.
There you go. That's
beautiful.
exactly it. But I was just going to say the importance of community. I think it's also important to be in community that is not for people who are using AI responsibly and curiously and are pushing forward. I think it's important to be in communities that also are not about that, because as I touched on earlier, there is a lot of fear and loathing, understandably. And, we have compassion and empathy for it. And I think it's important to be a person who can talk about it and teach people who are not a part of those communities as well. And that's really important to me.
Really important. Beautiful. And Chris?
So Kyle and Ann, you guys are at the forefront of all this, and which is phenomenal. And this is what camaraderie is about. And I'm all about that. And again, I hear these terms, keep the human element in all of this. I'm all about that. And you guys are at the forefront of it. So I hats off to you. I also say, you could start a community locally, which is what I did. I moved here to Florida from New York, and one of the ways to even I'm a people person, and I want to be face to face with people. This frontal lobe, eye to eye communication is more me than in this whole digital world that we live in, right? With AI even. So I started a meetup group, and it's grown to 30 people in the class that come every month now. And it's just great to get together with people. And again, people that are so a little apprehensive at first to get involved, a little fearful of the technology. And then this is a way to throw the human element in there, settle down. It's all good. I know they're thinking Terminator, they're thinking iRobot, something like that. But I think it's here to, for our advantage, capitalize on it, and just, keep the human element in it. And you got to start locally. That's a great way to do it. I love face to face over anything,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I definitely need to widen my radius of potential local people to involve, because interestingly, I live in an engineering college town, but a lot of AI haters, like for real. And so I haven't been able to do anything locally, but someday it'll happen. For me, the community-oriented piece that really knocked it out of the park for me this year was that my daughter, who is a member of She Leads AI and is a junior in college, she joined the membership, and she got to come to the Create conference and meet all my friends and be inspired by them. And she was just dazzled by all of the women there. And just like all young women, there aren't that many women for a STEM kid to look up to, right? And so she saw all of these ballers, and she's like, it's going to be okay to be a grown-up. So I really like that. And
the other thing that reminds me of, Ann, is it doesn't matter what someone's age is in these communities, because everyone's trying to learn, and we're all having to sort of be in beginner mind anyway. So when someone young comes in, they may think like, oh, these older people have it going on, and the older people are like, I don't have it going on. Maybe the young person knows what's going on, right? So it's like, it really doesn't matter how old you are, and just being in a community where there is the generosity that you mentioned, Cindy. Oh, hey, welcome into the club, right? Welcome into the tribe, is a huge part of this. And that's something that one of my goals for 2026 with the AI Salon is, how do we increase the diversity of, in all ways, of ages, experiences, things like that. Let's get as many people as possible, even people that are skeptical of AI. Hang on, let me put this down. And how about yourself with community?
Yeah, the community that's meant the most to me over the last year is She Leads AI. And, there's a lot of things about it that are different for me and that add a lot of value. It's outside the legal field. So there's a lot of different perspectives, and it's always good to get outside your field and be surrounded by people who have other problems and challenges and use cases, and then see how you can apply that to your field. And so that's fantastic. And, it's all women. And I'm in a practice area in law where women are the minority. And so it is fantastic to be, it was incredible, probably the first time in my life at the Create conference, where I was at a conference where it was entirely women. I've just never had that experience in my professional life. I'm usually one of the minorities at the conferences that I go to in terms of gender. So those things have meant a lot to me, and I have gained so much from that community. I've actually stepped back from some other communities over this past year that I'm in that are much more expensive, but I was not getting as much out of it. And so my energy goes into that's the one I get the most out of. And that's one has meant the most to me.
Beautiful.
I'd like to add, I know I live in Florida and people think they come down here to retire, but I do live in an area that's very youthful. And my meetup group is mostly older people that are coming. My oldest member of the group is 90.
Wow.
And he's coming in and doing AI and working with Adobe Premiere and Photoshop, and he's bringing to life old photographs of his family and having AI bring it to life. And he's 90 years old, and I'm like, it's unbelievable, so it's all facets of life, it's touching a lot of people. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely.
Kyle, what about you? What was the best part of community for you this year?
Well, I had an epiphany this past week around this. And for the past 3 months or so, I've been trying to figure out how I engage with, I put a lot of stuff in the world, right? And an MO that I've done all my life is I'll create something and put it in the world, and then I kind of step back from it and kind of hide behind it. I use it as this defense mechanism, right? And I was thinking this past week that how I think about projects is a project is an entity, and then that entity has to-dos, right? And how you make projects go is you list your to-dos and you go do your to-dos, right? And what struck me this past week, I was in New York. I was meeting with producers from a musical, and I was thinking about how the musical came to be in AI Learning Lab. And we've got the Irregulars who are huge fans of this musical. If this musical is ever anywhere, people are going to fly from all over the world to see this musical, right? And so I was very much in touch with the give part, Cindy, the sort of what you get from it. And I was struck with a new way to think about my projects is that they are not an entity that has a list of to-dos. What they actually are communities of people who are committed to whatever vision I've put in the world, and that the thing to do is to think about, am I being generous with the people in that community or stingy with the people in that community, which will motivate me to do the to-dos, which are really ultimately to serve them. And so that for me, I don't know what that looks like in the world, but it it's just a fundamentally different thing to think about a project as there's just a bunch of people who are excited about whatever that idea is. And there's a kind of very personal responsibility for showing up for that, because it's easy to hide behind a to-do. It's harder to go, am I going to let Cindy down? No, I don't want to do that. That's kind of icky. So that I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
So with that, we've got 5 minutes left. I'd like to just sort of go around. Why don't we'll go in the order that we did at the beginning. So Cindy, you go first on this, and this is just, give us a minute or so on what does AI readiness mean to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anne already kind of teed this up for me, but I just have a really firm belief that it is our responsibility the minute we understand some basic AI tinkering to be as generous as possible. Yeah. And how I like to say this is the big tidal wave of AI really consuming more than it is even now is coming. And we should be actively building our rafts right now that are bigger than just for us, but host others. So you're not building your raft to protect yourself. You're building a ship so that when people are overwhelmed, they see your flag and they know you are one of the people who is safe to go to.
Beautiful.
Because we're just filled with grifting, and we're filled with people who aren't leading with unconditional love, which these communities do. And so the bigger we build our raft, the more people we welcome in whatever way, online, in person, all of it, hybrid. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here to lovingly guide.
Yeah.
That's ready.
Yeah.
Love that. Liz.
Well, I can't follow that. That was so good. I agree. I would build. I would build on that and say that AI readiness for me is about being with the fact that being with the uncertainty, being with the unknown, and being with the constant change. My dog agrees. And understanding that there's no landing spot. This is constant movement and constant change. And really checking in with what is it that you want and what is it that you value, and using those to maintain your center. This world.
Love it. Love it. It's also a lot less stressful than having to figure out all the tools. Chris, how about you?
All I can say is these two young ladies did an amazing job there. But all I can tell you is awareness. AI readiness is also awareness. Knowledge is power. And just keep learning. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And we're here for each other, right? Let's work together. Let's collaborate. It's great. Just don't be afraid to ask questions, and just keep it going, and everybody will be okay in the end, I think,
Yeah, I think that's good. Beautiful. And
yeah, I agree with what everybody said. So mine's going to be short and simple. I think to me, AI readiness just means to be ready to try new things and be ready to learn new things. Everything's changing every day. You're never an expert. Nobody's an expert. So it's just being ready to try new things and ready to learn new things every day.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, 𝗫𝗏𝗏𝗄, this is remarkable. I like the big Brady Bunch layout.
I know, it's kind of fun for a podcast.
Really good.
It's like a little party.
Yeah.
We're having a little party. Well, you all were awesome. So I know I've been putting the banner up here throughout the show today, but if you haven't yet, go to AIFestivus.com, register. look at if you can look at the replay bundle, the deluxe replay bundle.
Deluxe.
And
It's
Murphy
deluxe.
designed it. It is deluxe. So
It's deluxe.
and there's also sponsorship information, things like that. There's lots. There's one of the other things you can do there is you can help get the word out. So down toward the bottom of the page, it says help get the word out. You click on that link, and it takes you to a whole set of graphics put together by Kate, our lovely Kate with She Leads AI, who's done just these amazing designs. So you can take those graphics and help promote AI Festivus. So please go do that. But clear your calendar. December 26th and 27th. Come hear these amazing people speak. And Anne, I am so excited to we should probably start organizing this thing in 4 or 5 days, right?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
All right, beautiful. Well, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Very much, everybody.
So
Great to see you.
fun.
Thank you so much.
So fun.